Hey listeners, are you thinking about starting your own podcast? Well, do I have the app for you? It's called Anchor. Anchor will get you out on Google Podcast, Breaker, Radio Public, Spotify, and many others. Not only that, Anchor will find you sponsorship so you can get paid. That again is Anchor.fm, Anchor.fm. Welcome to Abe's Front Porch Talk. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about innocent blood. So just stay tuned with me and let's discuss innocent blood, and I'll explain what I mean by this. But first, if you like Abe's Front Porch Talk, please hit that subscribe button or follow button on whatever platform you are following me on to listen to this podcast. And if you like YouTube, you can find my YouTube videos and some of my podcasts over on the YouTube, Abe's Front Porch there. Hit the subscribe button and leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the like as well. But moving on to innocent blood. And what I mean by innocent blood is that you hear a lot of talk about people speaking on abortion, since this is the biggest thing right now about abortions. And I've heard a lot of opinions about abortions. How some are just totally against abortions, and how others are like they believe it's a choice that people has the right to make, and that will be between them and their God when they have to stand before their God about having an abortion. They don't agree with it either. They don't like it. They believe it's murder, but they also believe you have the choice, and no one forced them. What they done are the ones that will have to pay for it. But I also heard those who said that they're highly against it. It's murder. You go to hell for it. You will suffer the wrath of God. I've heard preachers say, and I was just hearing a preacher the other day talk about the reckoning, God's reckoning, and innocent blood that's in scriptures. And it talks about, he was started going on, and he was saying, this preacher was saying, we have abortions, and abortions is so wrong because the babies are just so innocent. They're just in the womb and don't know what's going on. Well, you're right, too. And I don't agree with abortions. I don't believe in it at all, because I believe that some of these children could have a good life, but people panic and they don't think they can handle a child. They realize their mistakes, and their only way out is this abortion. Or it takes so much to get adoption papers here in America, and the stuff you have to go through for it and things. But, I also had someone tell me a long time ago that if the parent is willing to go and have this abortion, what type of life would that child have? Now, if you take a mother that's willing to abort her baby and not willing to carry it for 9 months, what type of life would that baby have? Would it be mistreated? Would it be abused? You see how many other children gets abused and die daily for child abuse. Or gets taken away from the parents and put in foster homes. And there are others in orphanages all around the world waiting to be adopted, and people just don't want to adopt them. Now, I have heard it said by someone else before too that they hear people running their mouths about how wrong it is to have an abortion, and they're hearing all this talk and seeing this on the news, and all people standing on the streets and protesting and stuff about it. But yet the people that's got the money, like the people that's rich, especially the people in our government, you don't see them there standing to adopt a child saying, I will take this child. If you keep this child, I will adopt it. I will pay for all your medical expenses. I will pay everything down to the T. And not only is it just the government or those who are rich that don't even have government jobs, but just rich that's got good paying jobs are not even doing it either. Now, I'm also getting there about preachers. Preachers that's got these big TV ministries. And you see them all over, and these big famous gospel singers and stuff, but they're talking about how wrong it is for abortions and people going and having these abortions, and it's a sin, and you will go to hell for murder, and you're taking an innocent life, and all of this. But at the same time, those that can afford to adopt a child, they're not there trying to meet with these people and say, hey, I'll take this child. I'll adopt this child. If you got the money to adopt 20 children, you can adopt it. It's not like that you can't get more money on your taxes from it, because you know you can. And I did a tax episode yesterday, so that was that. But you know what I'm getting to on here. Now, another thing is that I'm pro-life. I don't believe in abortions. So, and I know I cannot afford to adopt a child myself, but I could think of some people that I know that could adopt a child that would give it a good loving home. Now, another thing about innocent blood. When the Native Americans were here in America, and our ancestors came over and took the land away from the Native Americans, after they were so well and happy to be thrilled with us, they were accepting. They had a feast. They didn't condemn them. They didn't judge them. They welcomed these people with welcome arms. And then what did our ancestors do? They started fighting in a war against the Native Americans, killing them, stole the land, and look where we're at today. And if you cannot think about the innocent blood of our Native Americans from years ago, then something's wrong with you, because it's happened, and God still has not forgotten about that. Let's talk about innocent blood now. Now, let's move on from abortions here now. That's all you see in the news and hear. But what about preachers that wants to get on innocent blood being shed and pull scriptures? Let's come on, let's talk. Let's listen up now, okay? Let's talk about some innocent blood. Let's talk about this Native American. You wanted this so bad. You wanted about innocent blood. You want to bring up abortions. How wrong. But yet you preachers with all this fine vehicles and homes and all the money in the world and jet airplanes, you're not there to adopt a child, are you? But you don't even think about the Native Americans who lost their lives, and how many children during that time frame, the children that were killed and babies that were killed during the Native American time by our ancestors. Let's talk about this now. That's the same thing as abortions. You took a baby's life, you took a little child's life, you basically murdered them way back when. Our ancestors done all of this, but you don't hear this a whole lot now. You don't see this in the news, because that was years and years ago. That's not really concerning today's time. But I've got news for you all. Innocent blood is innocent blood, and it will come to a head on Judgment Day. If it takes 2,000 more years for God to come and rapture us all out and stand before Him and burn this earth down to the ground, to whatever He's going to make it as when He catches it on fire, or fire and brimstone, then He's going to remember the innocent blood from the beginning of time till the end of time. He's not forgetting it. So you need to think about all of this. What about the children who saw their mamas and daddies get murdered by our ancestors through this? There are Native Americans that still cannot have rights to the land here in America. They have to live on Indian reservations. And I've read somewheres, now if I found the right link, and it was a long time ago when I pulled this up, in some states right here in America, if the Native Americans, if the Indians come off their reservations, they can be arrested for stepping out onto the streets. For they must stay on that reservation. That's not right either. That is so wrong, and you know that's wrong. Children watching their mamas and daddies get killed by our ancestors back in the day. Probably seen their parents get beheaded. No telling what type of attacks was up on the Native Americans. This was their land. And this land should be given back to them. Everybody wants to talk about the foreigners and how to keep out the foreigners and build a wall and stuff like this. But yet we're the ones that took the land away from the Native Americans and still have not yet gave it back to them. For they were the first ones here. That's hypocritical of you. There's a lot of innocent blood on our hands still. There's so much bloodshed from people on this earth that was innocent. People sent to death row. There are people that's been proven to be guilty of murder by these unrighteous judges, an unrighteous jury, an unrighteous prosecutor who thought they knew everything and did not know nothing, and the person's trying to tell them they were framed or they're innocent, but they're still dying and went to death row over it. Innocent blood. But God knows the person was telling the truth. And you can say, look at it any way you want. Well, it's hard to really determine. We only have facts like DNA and stuff. I'm sorry. You took that job. That's your field to see. And you will have to pay for it. Their blood's up on your hands. I don't care how big of a job you have. That blood is up on your hands. So there's more innocent blood. Now let's move on over to a little bit here. There are people who has animals. And especially those that are big hunters. And they have these hunting dogs. And if one of the dogs don't hunt right, they shoot and kill the dog saying it's no good because it can't hunt. Maybe God gave that dog a different personality. And that different personality on that dog was more of a companionship than it was to hunt. But you killed it and called it worthless. No good. It didn't want to do what it's supposed to do. What it was born to do. That dog was born to do what it was supposed to do. And you killed one of God's beautiful creatures. And that's more innocent blood. Oh yeah, you got innocent blood of animals here on this earth. And God will hold you accountable for each animal you've killed. I've heard people say they killed their dogs for getting into the chicken coop. And when you got a bunch of chickens and you got cats around, what is the main food source for dogs and cats? They run to the chickens. It's a food chain. Everything's got a food chain. And people used to kill these dogs and cats for getting into the chickens and killing the chickens. But you killed what God created for a food chain. And I remember one time, I didn't really think a whole lot about this with the dogs and cats and chickens and stuff. And one day I had a voice come to me, and I know it was God, and he said, people lacks wisdom and knowledge. You should only have one or the other. You know everything is a food chain. Dogs will eat cats, cats will eat chickens, dogs will eat the cats. Dogs will eat the chickens. And then it goes higher on up into other stuff like that. But people killing them for that reason is being selfish. And they think they're doing no wrong, but God said, I am God the Creator. And I see all that is all. And it is written in scriptures for man to take care of the beast of the earth. Not to kill. We are responsible for the beast, these animals that walks this earth, and every fowl in the air. We are to take care of them. We are not to just shoot and kill them. The only time you're going to kill an animal, especially if you're a big hunter, is that you're going to eat that meat. I did an episode saying hunting is not a sport. Go back and listen to that episode, and you'll see people killing animals and putting their heads on the walls, have them mounted and stuff, and God said He doesn't like stuff like that. You better stop doing this. And then we wonder, oh, this virus outbreak is so bad. It's so bad with this virus outbreak. God's punishing the wicked. The only wicked person is that's caused a lot of innocent blood. And people don't even realize because they can't use wisdom and knowledge to see, even if you harm a little animal, you killed an innocent animal, and that's innocent blood either way, because God's got a food chain. People has probably killed their cats for getting into the fish tank, knowing they got fish tanks and a cat's going to get in there and get that fish either way they can. And some people probably got so mad at the cat that they killed it for that reason, saying the fish can't defend for itself. Well, which one would you rather have? A cat or some fish? It's up to you. But that blood of that animal is up on your hands too. But you can't see it. People don't think about that. They will argue about this episode up and down. People hear me saying this. But it's true. We are responsible for a lot of the animal's blood. They're innocent. People just going out and harming animals. I think people used to kill elephants for the ivory and just kill them. Wouldn't be nothing wrong, just kill them for the fun of it, to get the ivory and stuff. And I believe they finally was trying to get this stopped because so many people were doing this. But that was innocent blood from the animal. That elephant didn't even do nothing to you. Hasn't even hurt anybody. And then you're going to kill it. Animals can attack when they feel threatened. Or if you hurt them, they will attack. And then here we are killing them because they attacked somebody. Or attacked you and you killed them because you feared that they could attack someone else. Maybe they were hurting and sick. And when you reached down to pet them, they took it the wrong way. You grab a dog by its tail and you hurt it. The only defense it's got is to snap back on you and bite you. It can't speak like me and you. That's its way of telling you, hey, stop. It may not meant to bite down so hard, but it did. A cat will scratch you and all kinds of stuff, bite you and scratch you at the same time. So, and then you're killing these animals for this, and they're so innocent. Maybe they're having a bad day too, just like we do. People may not believe animals can have bad days, but they can. So, you want to talk about innocent blood? Think of all these facts I just said about the abortions, the Native Americans, and the animals we kill. How innocent these people are, and animals so innocent, and the innocent blood of them. Now let's go another step further. We all know about the Salem witch trial. I can't even talk. We all know about the Salem witch trials. And they were hung. And back in a time, people could accuse you, lie on you, and say you was a witch, and they would hang you or burn you at a stake, depending on what part of the world you was in. They didn't have to have proof. They thought certain things was enough proof, and they tried to prove that you were doing it, and that's all it took. Somebody got mad at you, all they had to do was say you was a witch and you were casting spells and you were hung. They came and got you and hung you. And there were people that were not witches. Somebody just got mad at them and lied and made false accusations, which is 2 of the 10 commandments right there you're not supposed to do. And then when they're hung and killed by the government and the townspeople, that person's blood was innocent, for they weren't even a witch the whole time. Just somebody said something about them and said they were. So that person was innocent. There's another part of having innocent blood on this ground. There was so much blood that's been shed from human beings to animals from the beginning of time till the day the world will end, and that's when we all will see. For God has not forgotten none of the innocent blood. And the life that has been taken so short of these people, God has not forgotten it. So before you start preaching about innocent blood and start blaming the abortions going on as being innocent, think about all these other things. Mention all this other stuff I just said, the animals that's innocent. Native Americans. People who were just hung that used to be called witches that were not witches. It's sad. So sad that we live in a time like this. And there was something else I was going to say too about innocent blood. And it's done slipped my mind. Oh yeah, this is it. Words. Jesus tells us man can tame the beast of the earth, but he can't tame his own tongue. Don't you know words can kill? Words can hurt. They kill. He tells this, but you can't tame your tongue. And a lot of people's committed suicide. Now let's go to those who have committed suicide now. There are so many that's done this because people have said harsh things to them, and it goes on day in and day out. And then they finally just had enough that they can't see the light anymore, that your words have killed them, that they just took a gun or a rope or whatever they could find and committed suicide. They might even took a bottle of medication and took the whole bottle of pills. Whatever it was for them to commit suicide over something you had to say and what you caused them, and maybe they already had enough stress on them from work and things that was going on their job, and they was having to deal with it and couldn't get stuff done. Maybe they was going through a divorce or a bad breakup or whatever the situation was, and your words sent them right on into suicide when you should have been uplifting them and encouraging them, but you killed them with your words. Nobody wants to take this and they say, oh, they done it themselves. They're in hell tonight and they're burning now and blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to tell you right now, words is like using a deadly weapon, because your tongue is a weapon. You may not pull the trigger from a gun or took the rope, but your tongue did it all. Your words has put them there, and you will be held accountable for that person's suicide. You will be their murderer. You might have gotten by with it here on this earth, but in that spiritual realm, you think you're not getting by with it. You think you're fine, and you didn't do it. You didn't tell them to do it, but your words did it. You can't say harsh things to people, especially those that are suicidal, because you can set them over the edge to do it. And then their blood is upon you. They were innocent and already had a lot of problems, and you put them there. So there's a lot of innocent blood on this earth. So be careful how you judge and condemn somebody. Be careful how you turn away from your family for whatever reason it is and say hurtful things and tell them God hates them and that they will go to hell. And they might just go out here and say, well, if I'm going to hell and stuff because that's what you've said my whole life and I've heard it for years, I'll just go ahead and go on and burn in hell now and go and kill themselves. You have put that person there. You're the one that's done that to them. And it's time for you to take responsibility for that person who has committed suicide and learn that if you have done this to someone, you need to repent and ask God to forgive you while you can if He's still dealing with you. Because that's innocent blood. There's so many people out here that's committed suicide that all that innocent blood's on the ground. And what was the reason why they took their life? Who said what to them? Nobody wants to take responsibility like that. But you will one day. You will learn that you're the one that caused them to commit suicide. Now, so just remember all this, what I'm saying. Now, I'm not asking you to agree with me on everything, but I'm asking you to think about a lot of it. And think about this with suicide. Maybe you got a family member who's committed suicide, and they were struggling, losing their jobs, and things were getting hard, and maybe they was fixing to have to go to court for whatever reason was out of their control, and they had all this pressure, and they couldn't take it, couldn't see the light no more. Things just got to them. Maybe they had no one to talk to about how they were feeling without being judged or condemned. People saying, well, they just didn't want to hear the truth. Well, no, you don't want to hear the truth by trying to share love and acceptance to people, but yet you can judge them for whatever it is, whatever they're doing. You judge them, and they need someone to talk to, knowing they can't have anybody to talk to, because people say, well, God's putting this on you. God wants you to go through all of this. This is the will of God. God don't want His children to go through hard times. God don't care about His children going through hard times. He wants you to have love and accept with each other. Accept one another and fellowship and get along. He doesn't want nobody sick. He wants everybody to stay healthy. But evilness is what brings all the bad things in. Yes, God did allow Job to go through all the stuff that he did. But that was to help people like me and you in today's times. And that was the only reason. But God's will is to take care of us all. Not to bring destruction or destroy man. Just like in Scripture said, it's not the will of God to destroy man, but to let man live and set man free. So, be careful. Don't let another innocent blood be up on your hands. Thank you for listening to Abe's Front Porch Talk. I hope you enjoyed tonight's podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, and I will try to get with you back when you do leave a comment if I'm able to communicate. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Twitter at Abe Sloan and Instagram also at Abe Sloan. Thank you so much.